All right, we've got Instagram up and running. Let me get the Facebook up and running here as well. Hey, what's up, everybody? So if you're just tuning in, I want to welcome you to, again, one of my Friday night personal finance wealth creation courses. I do these every Friday. So if you're watching tonight on Facebook, on Zoom, on YouTube, whatever it might be, I want to welcome you and make you feel totally welcome to tune in for this entire thing. Share it, like it, subscribe it. I do this every single week. Chris, good to see you, my man. Anyways, guys, my topic tonight that I'm going to cover, I'm very excited for, is it's the different levels of financial freedom, right? So I have this thing that I do with my clients called a blueprint. And the blueprint is something that gives people a step-by-step pathway from basic finances all the way up to wealth. Wealth being passive income exceeding expenses, savings, and taxes, right? And so what I want to do tonight is I want to start with step zero. Okay, I want to start with step zero on where does somebody start if they're just beginning this wealth journey and they're excited about it and they're just starting, like, what does it look like? Right. And part of this and part of why I want to cover this is not something I was ever taught. So a little bit about my story. I've been working with people on building wealth and finances for 9 years now, almost a decade. And when I first got into this business, there was nothing. There was no steps for me to follow. I was given a bunch of financial products and investments and said, this is how you adult as a financial person. And then that was kind of it. So I got my 401k and I got my Roth IRA. I got, my savings account, and I got my car payments, and I'm about to get a mortgage, and I'm thinking about if I should go to college. And it's all of these financial instruments that we kind of just get a crapshoot of. Right. And I see this with people that are, in their in their 30s, 40s, 50s. So those of you that are younger watching this, like, don't feel like you're the only ones that get hit with everything. Your parents and your peers and your uncles and your aunts and your coworkers, they all got the same thing. We get the bank and the 401 and the Roth and the IRA and the bank account and the mortgage and the car payment and the this and the that. And it's all of this stuff that comes at us financially. I want you to think about that. How many things do you end up paying for and contributing to and giving money to? Okay. How much of your life do you spend looking at, thinking about, or paying for those things? And then how much of our lives do we actually spend learning about those things? Very little time learning about these things. Okay. So we get a lot of this information and we don't get any training on it. And so what ends up happening is people start doing what they see or observe around them and others are doing as the right thing to do with finances. And so because of that, what happens is we end up out of sequence. Right. So imagine this as, like, who's ever played dominoes where you stack the dominoes up in order with hopes to be able to knock them down and have that whole cool effect of the dominoes falling. Who's ever done that? Okay. I've done that before. Imagine doing that, but not knowing that you're supposed to stack them in order, and instead just getting random dominoes and placing them wherever. And then when you hit the first one, the rest of them don't fall and you can't figure out why. That's how most of us operate with our finances, because we're never taught the steps of where to place each financial domino in order and why it goes there and how to do that so that we actually are able to make progress with it. Right. And so that's what I'm going to cover tonight. I'm going to cover what does the first domino look like and where do we lay that in order to actually build wealth. Okay. Now, a couple of ground rules with this as we're diving into this course tonight, guys. We do these every single week. The topic is personal finances. So if you tune in on this, and mostly for Instagram, because Facebook, you guys are pretty well familiar with this, but if you're tuning into this and you're like, what is this? Why is this guy talking about money? I don't know what this is for. It's a course on finances. So that would be why we're talking about finances. We're not talking about anything but finances. So just to give you that fair warning, right? Now, secondarily, is if you guys have questions, let me know. Put them in the comments. I will answer all of your questions and all your comments as long as they're relevant to the topic. And we'll do that towards the end. So I'm going to cover, our topic, and then we'll at the very end hit this. If there's anything that I say that does not make sense to you, does not make sense means I say it and you didn't know what it meant. Or I say it and you think you know what it meant, but you weren't sure. Or I say it and your eyes glaze over. Or I say it and then you start becoming bored or critical. Or I say it and then you're like, hey, I'm done with this feed. That means there's a word or concept or a thing that you didn't understand. If that happens, let me know right away. Tell me, what was it? What point? We'll go back. We'll cover it because I want you to learn. Okay. In school, we were not taught to learn. We were taught to sit there and shut up and regurgitate information that we don't actually understand. This is not school. I want you to leave this course tonight and actually know how to start winning with finances. Okay. And then final rule, no negativity allowed. Okay, this is not a place for negative people, for critical people, for people that really just want to troll and don't want to have anything good to say. If you do that, I'm just going to ignore you and probably ask you to leave at some point. This is for, think about, we're on a Friday night. Okay, Friday. Most people don't just sit on Facebook and Instagram learning about finances on a Friday. If someone does, it means they really want to learn. I've been there. I've been the guy that watched the course or the webinar or went to the class on a Friday. That meant I really wanted to learn. So for those of you that don't really want to learn, don't ruin it for those that do. That's my request. So if you're not interested, you can leave, but don't ruin it for people that really do want to learn about finances, because guys, the bottom line is 80% of America lives paycheck to paycheck, which means 8 out of every 10 people watching this stream struggles with money. 8 might even be an understatement. It might be 90 or 100%. Okay, so that means that at least 8 out of every 10 people watching here has something they want to improve about their finances, or they have some problem with their finances that if it were solved, their life would be better. That is the reason why I do these courses. Okay, so tonight we're talking about the steps to building wealth. Okay, the steps to building wealth. We go in phases. And the reason why we go in phases is because there are phases. There are certain things you have to do in a certain order at certain times. And if you do other things than those things, like for example, if I try and spend money before I make it, what happens? I end up in debt, right? If I try and invest money that I didn't save, what happens? I end up broke and paycheck to paycheck because Wall Street and my 401k has all of my income and I didn't actually have any savings for myself. Right? So there's these things that we have to do in order, but nobody says, here's where you start. So tonight I'm going to say, here's where you start. Now, as we're going through this, we're hitting phase 0. Phase 0 means it's literally before phase 1 can even happen. Okay, phase 0, most of the stuff we're handling tonight is stuff that happened in the past. Financially, it happened in the past, and we actually have to handle it in order to be able to start being in the future and present with finances. Okay, so some of us watching are old, and by old I mean we might be 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, and we feel like we've lived life for a while and we have most of the things figured out with finances, and so we might feel like because this is phase 0, it doesn't apply. Guys, I want to say there are so many people that I talk to that have their mortgage and their investments and they think that they're all set. And then when we dive into this, we find out, hey, there's basic stuff on phase 0 we have to go back to. I have a client in the last 18 months, we basically helped him increase his net worth by like double or triple or some stupid number like that. Very good progress, but we realized, dude, there's something on phase 1 we've got to go back to. He was on phase 4. We had to go back to phase 1 and handle some things, and then we could go back to phase 4. So what I'm trying to communicate here is nobody is above doing the stuff we're talking about on phase 0. This is stuff I do on a regular basis. Most of this is stuff that I learned from studying wealthy people and Fortune 100 companies, and those that actually have money, not radio pundits and TV pundits and media, people that actually have money. So everyone here should be open-minded to, okay, there might be some stuff here that I've got to learn and figure out, right? And that's really what I want to get across. Now, what I'm going to do here is I want to share my screen and we're going to walk through this together. Okay, if you guys are on Instagram, you're not going to be able to see my screen, but I'll verbally communicate to you on what we're looking at here. And again, we're talking about phase 0 of building wealth. So this is called the blueprint of financial freedom. Now, before we talk about the steps, we need to identify what's the goal. Okay, what's the target? What are we after here? When I say blueprints to financial freedom, what picture comes to mind? Okay, when I think financial freedom, I think unrestricted by money. I think that I don't have to work at a job. I don't have to trade time for money. Okay, I think about I'm not having to make any of my decisions based on lack of money, meaning I don't restrict myself on what I eat, where I go, how much I spend, where I travel to, what things cost. I don't think about money. That's financial freedom, meaning I'm free from the thought and the consideration of money in my life. Okay, the way that I accomplish that mathematically as a formula is I have passive income. meaning money that shows up from investments every single month without me having to work for them, that exceed my expenses, my savings, which would be a 40% savings rate, and my taxes. If I have that, I'm factually financially free. If I don't, it means that I still have to trade time for money. Okay, so that's the first inkling of financial freedom. Now, what is a blueprint? When we say blueprints to financial freedom, what do you think of with a blueprint? With a blueprint, I think of building a house. Okay, if I'm building a house or I'm building really any sort of structure, I'm going to start with a blueprint. Okay, I'm gonna have a written document that actually shows me step by step by step every single thing that's gonna happen. Okay, imagine hiring me as a contractor to help you build your dream home, and you're like, great, where's the blueprint? And I'm like, I don't have one. Okay, and you're like, okay, well, where are you starting? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe the roof or doors. I see other people have those, so I'm just gonna mimic what I've seen them do. No, there's specific things I would have to start on to build your house. And if I did not have those things, you would not let me build your house. One of those things would be a written blueprint. On that blueprint, it's going to show step by step which parts I'm going to start on. You know that the foundation has to come first. So if I start talking to you about things that aren't the foundation, you know that I'm probably going to build you a shitty house that's going to break. Right? Same thing happens with finances. If you start building this without a blueprint, if I start trying to build passive income and I don't have phase zero done, my finances are going to collapse on themselves. Okay, so phase zero is important. Now, the end product of phase zero is gaining financial freedom from the financial past in order to have the ability to create a financial future. Okay, that would insinuate that if I haven't done phase zero, I'm not free from my financial past, and therefore I don't have the ability to create a financial future. That's important because when I start thinking about financial freedom and wealth, and if this is the average person, you're probably thinking similarly, the first thing my mind goes to is investing. Okay, if I start thinking wealth, I'm like investing, and then I think real estate, then I think people like Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone and all these guys that I see. So I start watching them and the thinking that I need to mimic what they're doing. Okay, maybe I do, maybe I don't. But what I'm saying is when I'm thinking about wealth, that's where my mind usually will go to first. Okay, that's literally like the roof. I'm thinking about the roof of the house. Do I have a foundation? Do I have trusses? Do I have walls? Do I have the basic stuff that would actually support a roof? Otherwise, I'm just going to have a roof on the ground and I can't live under it. Okay, that's the analogy of having passive income with no other structure on my house. I can't live off of it because there's nothing helping me to actually live in the house. There's just a roof there, right? So if I don't gain financial freedom from my past, I won't build a financial future. Okay, and I want to get this across. Now, the first thing that I have to gain freedom from, this is on phase zero of the financial blueprint. The first thing I have to gain freedom from is my own transactions and behaviors. Okay, so step 0A of the financial blueprint is something we do called the personal financial purge. Okay, sounds intense, right? You hear purge, you probably think of those movies they made a couple years ago where it's legal to kill whoever because it's the day that you're going to do that with your finances. You're going to freaking wear a mask and go murder all your transactions. That's what we're doing on the purge. We're getting rid of financial transactions and behaviors. This is going to sound harsh, but it's true, that represent poverty mindset. Okay, so with financial transactions and behaviors, what do I mean there? I mean the expenses, the income, the things that I do with my money that represent how I behave. Okay, finances is it's like someone's physical condition. A very small percentage of the time is someone's physical condition another person's fault. Okay, a very small percentage of the time is an individual's personal financial condition someone else's fault. I would say 99% of the time, probably even more than that, it's the own individual's fault, right? So if I'm not earning enough income, nobody tied me up in bed and made me sit on my smartphone all day and not work. Nobody made me stay home when I could have got a job and probably kept one all the way through March, but instead I was trying to get government subsidy money. Okay, this is not to pick on anyone because I've had that mindset. Nobody held me at gunpoint and made me make bad financial decisions on Amazon. My financial transactions represent my behaviors. Okay, this is so important to get because if I can't get past this, guys, wealth will never happen for me. My financial transactions represent my behaviors and my actions with money, which represent my mindset. Okay, I know people that they're afraid to put $250 into a sacred account, but they'll go buy a used BMW. I literally just saw this a couple months ago. Dude dropped out on us on a sacred account, and then I see him driving around in a used BMW. It's like, dude, that's poverty mindset. Okay, that's me saying instead of investing for financial freedom, I'm going to buy a German hunk of metal that's going to go down in value every single day for the rest of the 5 years that I own it, have nothing when I'm done with it, and still be broke. See, nobody held me at gunpoint and made me do that. Nobody convinced me to do that. That was my own idea. And the reason why I did that is because I thought it was a good idea, because I had poverty mindset. I have to get rid of that. So the personal financial purge, I'm getting rid of poverty mindset. That's going to get rid of the transactions and behaviors that I have. And then I'm replacing them with good behaviors that no longer directly oppose financial progression. Guys, the wording on this is so important. I can't build wealth if I'm doing things that directly oppose financial progress. Okay, I can't do anything if I'm directly like, it's literally the equivalent of me saying, I want to lose weight, but I'm going to go to McDonald's every single day. It's directly opposing my goal. Okay, even if it fits my macros, I'm not healthy. I'm probably going to get cancer and diabetes. So even if I've got my six pack and I think I'm great, that's not helping me be physically healthy. Just like transactions in my life that, whether they're income or expenses, aren't going to help me be financially healthy either. I've got to get rid of those. So what do we do on this? On this step, the first thing that we've got to do is confront our financial transactions. So if I'm watching this today and I'm like, I want to start building wealth and I want to start actually like having passive income and doing all of this great stuff in my life with money, I actually have to go look at what are my stats right now? What are my current stats? The way that I'm looking at this is I'm going to do a 30-day expense audit. I'm actually going to pull up the last 30 days of the money I spent and I'm going to go log all of it, categorize all of it, figure out how much it was in relation to my income. Okay, now this is not the beans and rice budget till you die conversation. If you want to spend a lot of money, great, go make even more than that. Like there's no rule against spending here, but you better have income that earns more than that. If you don't, average American makes 50, 60K a year. If you're living on fixed income and you're not yet in a position where you can go earn more, or maybe you don't know how to, or you're developing that skill set, then we do have to go cut transactions out. So we're doing a 30-day expense audit. Okay, anyone that's ever been audited by the IRS, they know what I mean when I say audit. It's intense. You're looking at every single thing. There's scrutiny on every single thing. Okay, you're going to look through the last 30 days of your expenses and you're going to rate them all on a 1 to 5 scale. Okay, so if I'm looking at the last 30 days of my transactions, I'm going to rate every single transaction on a 1 to 5 scale. If it's a 1, it was a dumb idea. Okay, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm returning it if it was a 1. Why do we say 30 days? Because you can refund most things in a 30-day period, right? So if it's a 1, I'm returning it, right? If it's a 2, it wasn't dumb. It was just bad timing. I didn't need it right now. Okay, there's a lot of things that I don't need right now. I'm going to return those and get the refund on that as well. If it's a 3, it's a maybe. Really, that means I'm being indecisive. I've got to get rid of that either way or keep it either way, but that's kind of a safe zone for maybes. If I rate something as a 4, it's needed for survival. Survival means food, clothing, shelter, transportation, education, health. Okay, I never return 4s, and if it's a 5, it's something that produces income for me. I don't return 5s either, right? But what I'm doing here is I'm going through my last 30 days of all of my transactions and I'm going to find the 1s and the 2s and I'm going to get rid of all of those things and I'm going to get an influx of money back. Okay, if I get an influx of money back, it's kind of like getting a tax return. It's going to feel really cool, but it also means something really bad. If I do this exercise and I find, $1,000 or $500 or whatever the number is on 1s and 2s, that means that I spend way too much money on shit that is dumb or I just don't need it right now. Okay. Now, this is not an emotional exercise. Again, emotions are what got us here. Emotions are what made us buy the BMW when we didn't need it, right? Emotions are what made us not save and invest. Emotions are what made us charge up the credit card on crap we couldn't pay for. Emotions are what made us stay home and not work out of fear for a virus when we could have been out working anyways. Right? So emotions are not friendly when it comes to money. Money has decimals. It's not little hearts that happen when you're looking at. There's decimals, which means that it's logic. Okay, which means that if you come to a logical game with emotions, it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're going to lose 100% of the time. I've been there. right? I remember making emotional decisions that I could sit there and justify why I did them and why it was a great idea and why I was right. It didn't matter. I was still broke. Doesn't matter how hard I justify it, I was still freaking broke because it's not an emotional game. Money is a logical game. I have to think logically, and if I don't, I'm not going to win the money game. Okay. So that's my transactional rating system that I would say we need to do on the Purge. And basically, the next step of that is using that to create a monthly budget. Okay, I am going to operate on a monthly budget. I tell all of my clients to. Now, this does not mean that I have my freaking Dave Ramsey budgeting app and it's my Bible and I never spend money if it's not in the envelope and I pinch pennies and I count beans. Like that's not what we're talking about here, guys. I work with a company called Mass Mutual Life Insurance Company. Okay, $300 billion company. They have a budget. Think about that. Okay. So those that are like, I've been there before where I didn't like the budget. Those that are like budgets are dumb or scarcity. Guys, that's a $300 billion company that has a budget. Apple has a budget. Every single wealthy company or family that you can think of has some kind of budget. Okay. The ones that don't are upper middle class. So when you hear people saying don't have a budget, that's dumb, that's poverty, that yada, yada, you're talking to an upper middle class person. That is not a wealthy individual. Okay. I guarantee you, every single wealthy person you talk to, their business has a budget. A budget is simply foresight, thinking ahead. What am I going to spend in relation to what I'm going to earn? Because I want to keep as much of it as I possibly can. Therefore, I'm going to do basic math. Not super complicated. Budgeting is the equivalent of counting calories for finances. Okay, I can say all day long, like I don't want to count calories because that's restricting and I want to live my life with freedom and I don't want to be worrying about every single thing that I eat. But at the end of the day, if I'm overweight, that's the only way that I'm going to get out, counting calories, because it's math. Budget is the same way. So I'm going to establish a budget. Now that means that every single thing is planned for. This also means fun is planned for. A lot of us, I hear the word budget and you're like, oh crap, I can't have fun. No, no, no. Plan to have fun. There's a category called fun. There would be a dollar amount that you plan to spend there and you would be able to spend that guilt-free. Right? Now, the other thing we're doing here is we're going to have an income planning monthly amount as well. Okay. We have to plan to earn income. Income doesn't just show up. This is not taught in schools. Okay. This is not taught in colleges. It's not taught in business. Income comes from valuable exchange with others. Okay. So if I don't have an income plan, I'm not going to earn income. It's very hard for me to earn income if I didn't plan to. You guys see that? So I've got to have an income planning tool. I need to be looking at, basically what are my expenses for sure, but what do I need to make based on my saving and investing goals? What do I need to earn, not just to cover my bills, to actually have money to invest? Because that's the way I get out of this, is investing. These are all tools that I'm going to use in the cockpit to make financial projects. Okay, or to project progress. Sorry about that. So I'm doing the income planning tool. I'm doing the expense planning with the budget. And then one of the things I want to teach you guys here, there's a certain way to set up your accounts to where you're much more financially organized. This is something we teach on our personal financial purge. Anyone ever felt like disorganized with their transactions, their income and their expenses and their budget and their taxes? Who's ever felt disorganized with that? Okay, again, because we were never taught to be organized. Did you know most successful corporations have 4 accounts? Not a checking account and a savings account. They actually have 4 accounts. Okay. I'm going to teach you all about this right now. You should have one account called your income account. The only thing that goes there is income. You do not spend money out of the income account. I have this. It's an account that my paychecks go into, my direct deposits go into, my commission checks go into, my sales and revenue go into. That is my income account. Represent, Sean. You know how I do. So I have an income account that's the only thing my money goes to. No expenses come out of the income account. That's one of my 4 accounts. I have another account called my operating account. My operating account is where my expenses come out of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to total up my annual expenses and divide that by 52 weeks. And every single week, I'm transferring 1 week's worth of expenses from my income account to my operating account. Ta-da, at the end of the month, I've got all of my bills set aside for. Okay. I've also got a liability account. This is where I'm going to put my reserves and my taxes. Okay, so my set aside for my taxes, I'm going to take whatever percentage I plan on paying in taxes. And I say plan because I would plan to pay a certain amount or a different amount of taxes. Let's say I plan on paying 10%. I'm going to take 10% of my income account. I'm going to put that into my tax account. Okay, I want to have 1 month worth of expenses in addition to whatever my tax liability is in that liability account. That's my third account. My fourth account is my sacred account. I'm going to take every single month or every single week, whatever schedule I want to do, I'm going to take a percentage of my income account, and that's going to my sacred account. Okay, so visually, I'm going to show everyone what this looks like on a visual scale. Visually, what we have happening here, I'm even going to flip Instagram around for this. I want you guys to see this. Visually, what we have happening here is we have income flowing through to the income account, right? So we have the income account. All my income flows through to that income account. Every single check, every single deposit, no expenses ever come out of that income account. Okay. I know that that doesn't look like it says income, but that's actually ancient cave writing, and it does say income. Promise. Okay. So that's what that says is income account. Now I'm going to take every week my annual expenses divided by 52. I'm going to put that into my operating account every single week. Okay, that goes here, right? Now, the other one here is my liabilities account. Why do I call this a liabilities account, guys? Think about this. Liabilities are things that cost me money. Okay, so this is where I put my taxes. So if I think I'm going to pay a certain amount in taxes, I'm going to put that into the liability account, right? And I'm also going to put my reserves, my 1 month of cash reserves. That's an emergency fund. That's why that's called a liability account, because it's for crap that happens that I didn't plan for. So this is my liabilities account. Then I have my sacred account. Now, why do we call this a sacred account? This is called a sacred account because it is indeed sacred. We're only going to use this for investing. I have a percentage of my income that goes into the sacred account. Okay, so at the end of the month, I have my income flowing through this account. Every week I'm dispersing to my operating account. Every week I'm dispersing out for taxes. Every week I'm putting towards my sacred account. And what I have here is financial organization. Now, here's the sweet thing, guys. On tax time, guess what? All I got to do is print this account statement out. All my income is right there, nice and clean. No expenses coming out of it. It's just income and transfers. Okay. For operating, if I'm looking for deductions and stuff, that's all my expenses right there. All I've got to do is send that to my CPA, and we find which ones are tax deductible, and that's it. Okay. Liabilities, I don't have any surprises if an emergency comes up or I do end up owing taxes. If you're working with me, you probably don't need to owe taxes, but that's a different conversation. All of that money is coming out of this account. And then my sacred account, it always grows. Every single week, I don't spend this money on anything. This is only for investing and paying off debt. That's it. So this money is always growing over time. Okay. So the reason I share that is this is something that we cover on the personal financial purge with our clients. This is part of baby step 0, phase 0, whatever you want to call it. And it actually is called phase 0. But this is the very first step. And you guys can see that if I don't have that, it's hard for me to make financial progress. It's hard for me to move forward without being organized. Okay, because otherwise what's going to happen is I'm going to become more and more disorganized. Production causes a mess. So if I don't have an organized plan, then I'm going to just get messy, and then I'm going to stall out, right? So that's what I'm doing there. I can use different apps like mints.com. Quinizo officially, can you explain why you divided 52 weeks for the operating account? That's a really good question. So he's saying the operating account, why do I divide 52 weeks? Okay, there are 52 weeks in a year, right? And so what I want to do is I'm actually reviewing this every single week. I review mine every Thursday. Okay, every Thursday I look at my income and my expenses. So if I'm doing this every single week and I'm setting aside every single week, that would be 52 set asides that I would need to do in order to set aside for a year's worth of expenses in that operating account. So that's why 52 is there's 52 weeks, and I'm going to be doing this weekly. Now, the challenge here that I have for you is some of us watching, we don't get paid every week. Okay, we get paid every 2 weeks, or we get paid every 1st and 15th, or we get paid once a month. Now, again, we're talking poverty mindset, mindsets that keep us poor or keep us broke. I want to challenge you that that's poverty mindset. That's not an insult. That's to say, if I'm thinking that I've been conditioned to be okay making no money every other week, I should make money every week. There's no reason why I shouldn't make money every week. So if I'm accustomed to checks every 2 weeks, that's great. I need to go figure out how do I make money the other weeks where I don't get paid. Okay, so if I can start to balance that out, what I would want for all of you watching is every single week you earn more than your weekly set aside. Every single week. Doesn't matter if it was a pay period or not. You've got something going on that you have enough income showing up every single week to cover the weekly set aside. And those weeks where your pay cycle hits, that's just gravy. You've got extra money on top now. But that's real financial abundance is every single week I cash flow. Every single week my income is more than my expenses rather than 2 weeks I get really big income and then the other week I get nothing, right? So I want to help you correct that. So I hope that that answers your question. Excellent question, by the way. Again, if you guys have questions, drop those in the comments. If I don't hit them right away, I will hit them at the very end. Now, part of doing this is actually like tracking. If you're a tax client of mine, we have a program that does this for you. If you're not a tax client of mine, you can use mint.com. It's a free app that will do that. But the final thing here that I want to show you guys is called the purchase request system. Okay, the purchase request system. Now, think about the last big purchase that you made that wasn't a good idea. Okay, so not one that was good, like the car broke and I bought a new one. No, one that was stupid, like the vacation to Disney World that's still on the credit card, or the $6,000 big screen TV, or the $8,000 couch that you later sold for $2,400. Like those are the dumb kind of transactions we're talking about. Now imagine a world where every time you were going to make one of those transactions, you actually did a purchase request to yourself. Meaning you like wore different hats. First, you put on the hat of the person that wanted the thing and you wrote up why you wanted it, but you had to say why you wanted it, why you needed it, what was the benefit, what's the cost, is it a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5, how do you plan on paying for it, and then you take that hat off and then you put on the hard ass hat that is, are we going to put this expense through or not? When you're wearing the hard ass hat financially, your primary job is to say no. So most of the time, you wouldn't end up buying the couch or the TV, right? So this weekly purchase request system puts me in a position where I have to look at something objectively. Again, we talked about money is logical. It's not emotional. So I have to look at something logically and look at what's the cost benefit on this. Let's say it's the new TV. I really want the new TV. Let's say it's the PlayStation 5 or 6 or whatever the next one that's coming out. I really want it. What is it? $600, something like that. And so I write up a purchase request. Purchase request, PlayStation 5. Okay, cost $700. Okay, so I've got that. Is it a 1, a 2, a 3, or 4, or 5? 1, stupid. 2, don't need it right now. 3, maybe. 4, it's needed for survival. 5, it produces income. Let's look at this. If I'm a gamer that gets paid for playing video games, I could call it a 5. If I'm not, it's not a 5. Okay, it's definitely not a 4 because that's not food, clothing, shelter, transportation, education, or health, right? It's not a 3 because it's not really a maybe. Is it a 2? Like I don't need this right now? Probably a 2. Or is it a 1 where it's just stupid? I don't need it at all. My personal opinion, and I'm not a gamer, is it's a 1. I would not buy a video game console. Now, if you're not like that and you're like, well, I do play video games and it's part of me having fun and enjoying life, probably it's a 2. You don't need to buy it right now. You could probably buy it in 12 to 18 months when the price has gone down, right? So this purchase request system keeps me in line on my transactions so that I don't do things to myself that result in me going backwards financially. Now, here's why we do this. We're talking about the personal financial purge as the foundational phase 0A on building wealth. So that means somebody said, I want to be wealthy. And then I was like, great, let's do the personal financial purge first. We're not going to do passive income and investing yet. We're doing this first. Think about what this does. This gives me the ability to control all of my income. This gives me the ability to control all of my expenses. This gives me the ability to actually build financial solvency. The only reason I am at where I'm at today financially, whether that's good or whether that's bad, is again, my own financial transactions and behaviors. And those transactions and behaviors, again, if they're poor, representing poverty transactions and behaviors, things that make me broke, not wealthy, they're stemming from poverty mindset. So if I don't change those things and then I go invest or any of the stuff that I'm thinking of that I have to do to build wealth, which are all true, but I don't do this first, I will stay in poverty mindset. I will continue to do things that directly oppose financial progress. Okay, this is so critical. And I want to really drive home the point before we move on to the next step. I want to drive home the point. Guys, this is not scarcity. This is not financial masochism. This is masochism means self-abuse where I'm just, like budgeting myself to death to keep myself miserable because I think it's the right thing to do. It's none of that. This is literally having a plan. I'm asking you to have a plan to earn income. I'm asking you to have a plan with your expenses. I'm asking you to plan to earn more than you spend and to plan to set aside money and to plan to be solvent and to plan to make big purchases. By planning, I can actually walk the plan out. Okay, because nobody got wealthy on accident. Those that do end up broke. Professional athletes that didn't plan to get wealthy, they end up broke as soon as they retire. Lotto winners, they didn't plan to get wealthy. They are broke within I think 4 years of winning the lottery, even less than that in some cases. So we're going to plan just like we would with anything to be wealthy. Now, that's the first component of things. The next thing we've got to do is get educated. Now, you might be watching this and you're like, well, this was education. That's why I was here and we just learned a lot. I agree with you, and I hate to be the one that breaks this to you. There's a lot to learn about money. There are tons of subjects and financial instruments and vehicles and investments and strategies. Even I learn about new stuff on a regular basis because there's so much out there with money. Okay, money has been around for thousands of years. So for us to think that on one webinar, we're going to learn everything there is to learn about money is just not real. For us to think that we're going to build wealth, let me fix my hair here. Sean, I need you, man. So Hair Science is my barber shop in Alaska, whom I have not seen for like 6 months, hence the rag going on here. So this gets in the way sometimes, but I make do with it. So back to our scheduled programming. To think that I'm going to be wealthy without regularly learning about money is foolish. It's not going to happen. So the next thing that we have on phase 0 is a program of ours called Wealth Dynamics University. Most of our clients have access to this. You can get a free trial to it. If you want to buy it, it's like $600 for the year. It's super cheap. But what I ended up doing when I wanted to learn about money is I didn't know where to look. So who's ever heard the phrase needle in a haystack? Okay, I did that. I went through the entire haystack and found all the needles. It was fun, but I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. So what I did on Wealth Dynamics University is I said, guys, I climbed through all of these haystacks, grabbed all of these needles. Here's all the needles. Like, skip the haystack part. It's a waste of time. Someone's going to tell you it builds character. It doesn't. It just slows you down. So Wealth Dynamics University is everything that you need to know about money. Okay, taxes, income, expenses. Taxes are a big one, guys. Like, most people don't know. Like, I watched one of my partners do a tax plan for somebody yesterday. The guy owed $1 million in taxes, wrote the thing down to 0. How cool is that? Down to 0, right? So when we're looking at learning about money, that's what we're doing. Wealth Dynamics University is the video training course that you're going to go through. There's hundreds of hours of financial content in there. We're updating it every week. Stuff like I'm doing tonight, but you have that on demand and you're studying every single day. So we have our clients training on that. We have contests. We actually award them for top trained and getting financial literacy so that when you're done with this financial course on Wealth Dynamics University, you know everything that the top 1% know about money. It's there. There's no mysteries. It's nothing hidden. And the great thing is, guys, if you're watching this tonight, I'm a simple dude. I'm not using big complex phrases. My high school had like 60 kids in the graduating class. So I'm not going to give you this stuff that goes way over your head. I'm going to break it down the way I understand it, which is simple. Okay. I didn't go to college, like none of that stuff. So somebody that can't take something that's complex and make it simple that a 5-year-old could understand it doesn't really know the topic. Okay. And so what I do is I take everything that's high level, because it doesn't need to be, and I make it simple so you can understand, here's what this is, here's how you use it, here's what this is, here's how you use it. So the end product is you get done with that course and you know how money really works. That sounds like a short statement and it's very easy to overlook and take for granted, but it's pretty profound. Okay, learning how money really works. That would insinuate that there are several ways that money might work, but there's a way that money really works. And until we learn that way, it's very hard to make any progress. Okay, I related to going to the gym again. Who's ever been to the gym when they didn't know what the hell they were doing and you found out like 4 or 5 weeks into it, you had been using the equipment wrong? Okay, let's see some emojis if you've done that. I've done that before. You think you're doing the right, like, yeah, these must be leg presses, or I've seen a guy doing shoulder presses on the leg press machine. He thought that was how you do them because no one ever told him not to. That can happen with finances. And you don't know till you get injured or you can't make progress or someone starts to make fun of you for it. So there's a way money works. And it's the same idea, right? Now, one of the things that we do offer on this blueprint on phase 0, you have to learn how to earn more income. And this is not a statement of invalidation on you're not making enough money. The bottom line is that money is not hard to make. There are rules that money abides by. There's rules of exchange and value and knowledge. And it's actually a very simple thing. When I learned it, my income took off. And so one of the things we're going to work on this phase 0 is how do we help you increase your income? Now, a few ways that you don't want to do this is you don't want to go into a business where you've got to buy a bunch of inventory, right? If I'm trying to get my money right, I don't have 10 grand to spend on products, right? So I need to be able to sell something or do a service or get extra hours or whatever it might be to be able to grow my income. So we have a program called Wealth Dynamics Ambassadors. If you're a client of ours, you can actually refer people to my company. It costs you nothing and it costs them nothing, and I'll pay you. Okay, so I had a client named I won't tell you his name actually, I can't do that. But I have a client that referred me another client to do a financial plan. We did the financial plan for the referral for free, did not cost him anything. The client that referred him did not cost him anything, and I paid him out $225 for the referral. That's what we're talking about here, becoming an ambassador. This is a way that you can earn extra income helping other people with finances, showing them what we're doing for you, and then referring them to us, and we'll pay you out commissions and stuff so you can increase your income while you're learning about your finances. You don't have to do that, by the way. You can do anything, but what I'm saying is that it should be something that's easy to do, low cost, doesn't take a bunch of time, doesn't take a bunch of money to get into, right? So as we're wrapping up on phase 0, I'm going to hit my time tonight, but as we're wrapping up on phase 0, think about what we've done so far. We have started to get educated on money. Okay. We've started to increase our income. We've started to have our own transactions organized and monitored and structured in a way where we have cash flow every single week. We're actually understanding how money really works now. We're increasing our income. The next thing we're going to handle is debt. Okay, we're going to handle debt now, okay? Because now we're earning. Now we have like surplus income every month. We have all of this stuff going on. We're going to go now attack some debt. Okay? Now the first thing I want to say about debt. Debt is something that will hold me back if I don't get rid of it. Now, this is not investment debt. So just to clarify, we're not talking about real estate. We're not talking about debt that cash flows or pays for itself. That's different stuff. We're talking about the student loan and the car loan and the credit card and the medical bills and all of the crap that I got into at a very young age and had to put all of my income to every month that left me broke every other Friday. That's the kind of debt we're talking about. Okay. So on this step, we are going to focus on buying back your debt. Now, why do I say it like that? Why don't I just say paying off debt? Think about this. If I owe debt to a financial institution, let's say I have a car loan. For me, that car loan is debt. I owe it to them. It's a payment I make. It costs me interest. If we flip roles, for them, it's an asset. They make monthly income off of my car every month. They earn interest on my car. It costs them nothing. So when I'm saying paying off debt, what I'm really doing is I'm approaching an investor that owns an asset and I'm buying it from them. We have to think about it this way. Nobody ever taught me that, but that's how it works, right? Because here's the reality. That bank sells the debt. They sell it to another bank anyways. So it's a normal thing for institutions to buy debt from other institutions. I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to be the buyer this time instead of the consumer. Okay. So I'm buying back my debt. I'm going to do it through increasing my income. I'm going to use a strategy called Diddy, D-I-T-I, and I'm going to use something called the sacred account. Okay. Now, I'm gonna whiteboard this one out as well. When we're buying back debt, here's what we're focused on with this. And this is profound, guys. Let me clear off my ancient cave writing. I'm going to give you guys some more ancient cave writing. Instagram, I'm going to flip you guys so you can see this as well. So let's say that I have 10 grand in debt And let's say that that 10 grand in debt is costing me, what's a good number for that? Let's say $300 per month. So that's costing me $300 a month. And let's say that that is at a 5% interest rate. Okay, so that's $300 a month that I have to pay every single month to whoever I borrowed the 10 grand from, right? It's costing me 5% interest. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a quote that I want you to remember. This interest that we're looking at, a lot of us get caught up on this. Listen very closely. Poor people focus on interest, wealthy people focus on the denominator. The poor focus on interest, wealthy focus on the denominator. Interest is a percentage. When is the last time you paid your bills with a percentage? We don't. We pay our bills in dollars. The dollar is called the denominator. So the bank is not focused on a piddly 5% interest rate. They're focused on they're going to get $300 a month from me for however many years, and they have that money coming in. That's what they're focused on. I'm the one that's caught up on, oh, it's 5%. That's cheap debt. I should keep it. Guys, that's called a red herring. Okay. Banks are either going to give you a really high interest rate to get you focused on paying because they want the income stream, hence credit cards, or they're going to give you a really low fixed interest rate like a car loan, like this might be, because they don't want you to pay it off early. That's a safe, secure, collateralized $300 a month. They like that asset. The riskier it is for them, the higher interest they're going to charge you so that you're running on the hamster wheel trying to pay the interest down as fast as you can. The lower the rate, they're not worried about it because they want the asset on their books. Okay. So let's say that I have this 10 grand. I have a couple things I could do here. I could pay the 10 grand off in cash. Okay. And then be done with it. The problem is if I pay the 10 grand off in cash, I am out $10,000. I'm now broke. I don't have the 10 grand anymore. I've got the 300 bucks a month back. Sure, I'm saving the 5% interest. Great. But my 10 grand is gone. I don't like that. So what we use is we use something called a sacred account. A sacred account is a life insurance policy. So what I do over here is I have a life insurance policy that has 10 grand in it. This 10 grand is earning 3 to 5%. Okay. I'm going to borrow against it. When I borrow, it's going to cost me 2 to 3%. And I'm going to use it to pay off this $10,000 that I owe. So I've borrowed 10 grand from myself. I'm making more than it costs. I'm actually making a 1% profit to borrow my own money here. And I've now paid off this 10,000. I'm still earning 3 to 5%. I'm going to take the 300 that I used to pay and I'm going to pay myself back. At the end of me paying myself back, I will have more than $10,000 because my 10 grand stayed in there compounding at 3 to 5% the entire time. Okay, that's a strategy that we use. That's a strategy that we use to help people pay off their debt because, guys, the root cause of debt is not debt. The root cause of debt is lack of money. I either lacked income or I lacked savings. Therefore, I had to borrow money from somebody else because I didn't have it. So if I don't fix that first, solvency, getting money first, growing that money first so that I break the cycle of having to go back and borrow, then I'm always going to have to go back and borrow. This is why people don't get out of debt. Guys, debt is a trap. Debt is something that banks created to get as much of our income as they can possibly get every single month for the longest period of time they can get it for. So if I play into their game, I'm not going to win, right? So that's something we do on this step. It's called the sacred account. Now, the other thing we do is called DITI. It stands for debt, insurance, taxes, and investments. Okay, this is pretty simple, right? So if I'm trying to pay off debt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my debts and I'm going to reduce all my payments to just the minimums. Okay, what this does is if I've met clients where they're paying an extra $100 on this one and an extra $100 on that one, I'm going to stop all of that and I'm going to free up all of that money. That's instant cash flow. So I'm going to pay only my minimums. I'm going to free up all that cash. The other thing I'm going to do is I own a health insurance agency. Health insurance is the #1 insurance expense for Americans. I'm going to cut your health insurance costs down to like 30% of what you spend now, and that's going to free up even more money. Okay, so like I had a client last month that was spending $800 per month on health insurance, and we saved them. We dropped them down to $160. So we helped them free up, what is that, $640 a month on health insurance that they can now put towards their sacred account and paying off their debt. The other one is taxes. Okay, the average American gets about a $3,000 a year tax refund. That means the IRS took $3,000 of your money that wasn't theirs to take, kept it all year, gave it back to you, and expected you to celebrate it with the little green guy that dances around on the tax commercials each year. That's not okay. So that's about $250 a month that we're going to help you get back just on that. The other thing is we're going to use something called the checkbook IRA and a checkbook HSA that if you're single, we're going to help you write off about 13 grand off of your income plus get a tax savings credit. If you're married, we're going to help you write off over 20 grand in income and still get a saving credit. And that's going to help you probably free up another 3 to 5K in taxes. Okay, these are things that now freed up income, so we have more money to put at debt. Investment. Who's ever been in debt and you were still putting money in your 401k? Crazy, right? Why would I give money to Wall Street when I'm currently financially insolvent? So we're going to stop investing. We're halting any 401k or retirement contributions. No retirement contributions. Okay, we're going to halt all of that stuff. That's probably $200 to $300 a month that you're putting to your 401k right now that instead you could be putting towards your debt and your sacred account and actually building financial solvency. What we just did here is we helped this person, and this is hypothetical, but these are very average numbers. We probably helped them free up $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month back in the budget that now we can go pound out our debt. That's exactly what we're going to do to handle the debt. Okay, so as we're paying the debt down, again, we're borrowing against the sacred account. That $1,200 we freed up, we're putting that in the sacred account every month. That's now growing. We're going to borrow against it and pay off the debt with it, right? And that's going to accelerate things so that we can actually build solvency as we pay off the debt. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is if you have student loans, this is a big one for millennials, we're going to help you refinance those. Okay, so I have a program called Common Bond. Common Bond is a student loan refinance. We're going to take your higher interest rate student loans, drop those down to lower interest rates, spread the payments out so you have more money back every month, and then we're going to aggressively pay those suckers off too. Okay, at the end of this, we're going to have no debt left. It's going to be gone, wiped out entirely. Now, on the back end of this, as we're wrapping up phase 0, we're going to do something in tangent with paying off the debt called credit banking. Okay, credit banking means that we're going to help you build your credit score up over 700. And then we're going to help you get 0% interest lines of credit so that you can take 0% interest credit and refinance out all of your expensive debts. So your interest rates that are 10s and 15s and 20s, we're going to move those to interest rates that are 0. What that does is as you're paying off your debt, you're paying towards principal, not interest. You're able to pay off much faster because you don't have money going aside every month to your interest. So we actually help you get 0% credit lines to do just that. Okay. Now, this is a program that we have with our company where we're going to help you do that only once we've started saving. Okay. We're not going to help you get 0% credit cards if you're not saving money. That's only going to make the problem worse. Okay, but if you had, let's say you had a medical bill that was at a 15% interest rate and it's $5 grand, if we can get you 40,000 and 0% credit, why wouldn't you then refinance that $5 grand out and put it on 0% and then pay it off at principal only, no interest? Same thing, if you have a car loan that's $7,000 and it's costing you 4% every month or every year and you're paying on that thing, why wouldn't we refinance that to 0 and knock it out quite quicker? Okay, so at the end of this, the result of phase 0, guys, and this is what we're going to wrap up on, is again, says at the very top, gaining freedom from the financial past in order to have the ability to create a financial future. It's important because at the end of this, if you've done phase 0, you've got no debt. You earn more than you spend. You're putting money aside every single week. You've got your sacred account funded. You've got a 700 credit score. You've got probably 6 months worth of reserves in credit so that you never have to worry about this stuff again. Like, you're covered. Now, this is just phase 0. We're basically, we were upside down on our finances. We're back up at ground level now. We're now done with phase 0 at ground level. We're able to start building a positive surplus from this point onward. What I mean by that is now we can start actually making progress forward. We're not looking at, covering stuff from the past anymore. We're not looking at trying to handle, last year's, debts or expenses or taxes or any of that stuff. It's now present time and future time. Okay. So I wanted to cover this. The reason why is I see too many people that are their intention is in the right place. They want to invest. They want to do sacred accounts. They want to do stuff with their finances, yet they don't have the basics down. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He's like, man, I want to do 50 grand in a real estate deal. And I was like, dude, no, you have debt. Let's just pay that off. Okay. Let me show you something on this, by the way, really quick before I open up for questions. Those of us that are fixated on the investing thing, because investing is more of a status, a beingness. It's a good thing, but it's something we get caught up on, kind of like a college degree. And sometimes it's not always the right move. Let's go back to this example where we had $10,000 and we had that at a 5% interest rate and we were paying $300 a month. Let me move this out of the way. We were paying $300 a month on it. Okay. So let's say that I had 10 grand right here. If I had 10 grand in cash, if I was going to invest that, I had my 10 grand in cash. Let's say I had some magical investment that could pay me 15%. Okay. 15%. Not a bad deal. I would jump at that 15%. Now, the problem is though, 15% of 10 grand, what is that? $150 a month? Someone correct me if my math is wrong on that, but I think that's $150 a month. Versus I take the same 10 grand, instead of investing it, I pay off this $10,000 debt. That freed up $300 per month. All right, let's do this. Let's do the complex math on this, boys and girls. What's more money, $300 or $150? $300 all day long. Okay, if I look at this $300 a month, that's $3,600 per year. $3,600 per year divided by 10 grand, that's a 36% annual yield by paying off my debt. Or I could try and make 15%. Right? So the reason I hit that is I talk to a lot of people that get fixated and focus on, I want to invest, I want to invest, I want to invest, when really the best investment is paying off the debt right now. Okay, that debt, that $300 a month, that's freaking guaranteed. The $150 a month, that's not guaranteed. There's a chance I don't actually get to make that, right? So it's important for me to actually like use that as my own way to invest now. Okay, so really quick, let's open this up for questions. Good to see everyone, by the way. We have Instagram going. We've got Facebook, Zoom. We'll have this up on YouTube as well. Again, I want to commend everybody that's here watching this on a Friday night. It says a lot about who you are as a person, wanting to improve your finances and investing time on a Friday to do so. Let's see here. Nick has a question. Do you still advise people investing in 401ks with a good company match to drop the investment into the fund? Nick, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. I don't recommend you going into the 401k to get a match, if that's what you're asking. So Nick is saying certain funds, certain investments or 401ks, they'll give you a 3 to 5% match to put your money in the 401k plan. That's a gimmick. When you do the math on a 401k, you actually lose more money than you got putting it into it. And that 3 to 5% is deferred compensation, meaning it was your money in the first place. So it's a situation of I have to give up a dollar to get a dollar, but I don't really get either of the dollars because both of them went into the 401k. And now I can't have either of them till I'm 60. And all the entire time while I'm turning 60 and working my way there, the Wall Street's going to make money off of it. When I take the money out, I'm going to pay the IRS and I've paid inflation and I'm left with nothing basically. So I would not do the 401k just for the mash. It's the cheese on the mousetrap. It doesn't change the fact that it's still a mousetrap. Best haircut for a businessman. What number on the side of the head? I get a 0 on the sides and 2 on the top at Great Clips. Aaron, you got to stop going to Great Clips, man. Look up Sean Item. Look up Sean Item and Hair Science. Ask him that question. I go to him for my hair stuff. All of that's taken care of, but don't go to Great Clips. That actually reduces your net worth. There's scientific proof of that. Okay, question here on Zoom. Robert says, I just opened a sacred account. I have enough to pay off my car, only my consumer debt, and I still have a 6-month emergency fund. Was going to pay the debt directly but it sounds like I should wait to speak further with you guys before buying my debt back. That's definitely right. So Robert is saying he has his sacred account. He's ready to pay off his debt. Robert, get on a call with my team. We'll actually go through and do a free Diddy consultations for you. Again, DITI, debt insurance, taxes, investments, and we'll actually help you line all of that out. That way you can actually get all of that straightened out for yourself. We just lost Instagram. Instagram shuts off after an hour. Let me push them back up to answer their questions really quick. So I would definitely jump on a call with our team. Robert, reach out to me or Nano, and we can get that taken care of for you. Nick has another question. Do you advise the employee working for a big company that matches 3 to 5% to still leave? I don't quite know what you mean, Nick, by still leave. If you're making income, I wouldn't just leave, if that's what you're asking. All right, let me check on Zoom, see if there's any more questions here on Zoom. If there's not, then we'll probably log off here for tonight. Yeah, I think that's all of our questions. Let me see if there's anything on Instagram. If you guys are tuning on Instagram, we're actually just finishing. The last stream cut off because it'd been an hour already. So we're about to log off here. Yeah, I think that's all of our questions, guys. So we're going to go ahead and tune out. If you missed our class tonight on our Friday course, make sure you tune in next week. What up, Jeff? I do see you. Joe, you have a question. Go ahead, Joe. Joe on Instagram has a question. Go ahead, Joe. I'll answer your question here really quick. So again, guys, as Joe is typing his question, we do these classes every single Friday. If you missed this one, it will be up on YouTube. You can rewatch that there. If you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, you get those every single week. Quinizo says, if you're embarking upon this blueprint of financial freedom, do I need those 4 accounts right away? You definitely do. So Quinizo is talking about the income account, the operating accounts, the liability account, and then the sacred account. You do need all of that set up immediately. And again, it's going to help you get more organized. So what I want to do is I'll leave you guys with a favor here really quick while we wait for Joe to type his question. If you go to jerryfetta.com. Actually, let's do this one. You could go there, or you can go to membership.jerryfetta.com. If you go to membership.jerryfetta.com, you can subscribe for a free 2-week trial to my course. It's called Wealth Dynamics University. It's hundreds of hours of content. And basically, that's going to give you access to all of my material on finances. So that's a 2-week trial. That'll teach you, Quinizo, that'll teach you how to set those accounts up. There's a course in there called the PFP course. And that'll teach you everything about how to set those accounts up. If you would like to jump on a call with my team, send me a DM and we can help out with that as well. Joe, I don't see your question, bro. Yeah, I don't see, Joe, I don't see your question. Type it real quick. If you did it on the last feed, it's probably gone by now. So again, if you go to membership.jerryfetta.com, you guys will be able to check that out. One thing that we're doing right now as well, since it is tax season, last month I bought my own CPA firm. This is the first time I'm announcing this, so some of my clients are probably like, what the hell? But we bought a tax firm. It's called Wealth Dynamics NFT, stands for Non Furtum Tributum, which is Latin for taxation is theft. Yours truly. But I bought a CPA firm last month, and so we have our own in-house CPAs. Our CPA team is very experienced. So we're doing free tax reviews is my point. If you want your taxes reviewed by my team, send them in. Hit me up on an email or direct message, and we'll review your taxes at no cost. If we can help you, you can hire us. If we can't, no harm, no foul. We want the opportunity to see if we can help you reduce money and stop getting stolen from. So that's everything I have. Joe, I still don't see your question, my friend. Send it to me in the DM. I'll answer because we got to sign out here. Anyways, guys, we're going to wrap up for tonight. Thank you for watching. Make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to you all next time. All right. Good to see you guys on Zoom. I'll talk to you next week as well.